Okay, let's get started. Welcome, hello. Welcome to my first webinar. Thank you all for taking the time to join me. I hope through my sort of Q&A session format, you will find my thoughts, my experiences, my perspectives helpful. They're based on my own past mistakes, my failures, my account blows. I've done them all. I haven't heard one thing from someone else. They're like, I did this, I did that. I haven't heard one thing so far where it's like, oh, I didn't do that. I have no idea what you're talking about. I've done them all. Just a quick introduction about me, just very quick, so you get background about me. Um, I went to law school straight out of undergrad. I really wanted to be a lawyer for most of my, I guess, teenage years. I dropped out after one semester because I didn't want the life, the hours of being a lawyer. Like, that makes a lot of sense, right? Um, since then, over the last about 10 or so years, I've been in various operation and finance roles, been a COO, been a CFO, started my own business, left my own business, came back, uh, went out. My business actually went out of business in 2019, which led me to trade full time for the past 2 years after doing it part time for, I don't know, 5 to 7 years before. Um, as I've mentioned many times on Twitter and elsewhere, I've taken 10K to 500K to zero, taken 10K to a million to zero, and not just once of each. So I still make a lot of mistakes. I'm still learning. But I feel like I'm at a place where I have a decent understanding and experience in terms of trading mentality, approaches, even if my execution is far from perfect. A lot of times, not just with trading, but in sports side play or other things, I feel like sometimes, my execution's okay, it's fine, but I feel like I'm a pretty decent coach and teacher. So this is kind of my way to give back. The goal is for all of us to make fewer mistakes over time, including myself. And you don't want to make a mistake and then compound it with another mistake. Ideally, you make a mistake that's with a small size or with profits or, that kind of thing. And what I'll do is at the beginning of each webinar, I'll also bring up something if I feel like I made a mistake or I made a bad trade or something that I shouldn't have done. I'm not sure how this webinar will evolve over time, but this will be the only webinar where I have this big intro spiel. But what I'll do is I'll give a brief recap of sort of what happened in the market since the last webinar. Maybe mention some good or bad trades I did. And I do this. I analyze my own trades. So if there's anything I think that would be good to tell you all about, and then I'll open the floor to the Q&A. That's the most important part. It can be, what are you struggling with? Are you over trading, oversizing? Are trades going against you the moment you buy them? Do you have just general questions about trading or options or investing? It could be as simple as just telling me what trades you did this week, and we can discuss why they did or did not work. They can be very general or very specific and personal. Whatever it may be, we'll all learn. I'm going to learn from these conversations. Just to repeat something I said earlier, I do not intend to give specific trade recommendations, what to buy or sell. That is not the point here. We can certainly talk about the past. Like I said, we can talk about your past trades. We can talk about your approach, but I'm not going to say buy SPX, whatever, at whatever, or buy this, kind of thing. We can certainly talk about individual stocks or things in sort of a general sense, or hypothetical approaches, or just what I may think about something. But I'm not going to say I'm going to buy Tesla at $600 and sell it at $8, whatever it may be. My goal is to give you guys the tools, the right mentality, and the rest is up to you what to buy or sell, your risk, your goals. I've started to post a little more on Twitter with some things I buy and sell. It's not daily, it's not often. It's more about things I have high conviction in, but that's on my Twitter and in other places, and that's not what's going to be the meat of this. I'm aiming for about an hour or so. Today might go a little longer since we have this intro, but about an hour and a half. Depends on my schedule. Depends on where we are with questions. If I miss someone's question, if we just don't get through everyone, message me later on Twitter. If it's something quick and I can just answer it with you, I'll do that. Or if it's a really good question, I may queue it up for the first question in line next time. So that's good. All right. That is my intro spiel that, well, this will be the only time you hear that. But let me start with a brief recap of the markets, and then we'll go into Q&A. For this past week, I thought it was pretty simple going into it, and it really determined how I approached it. A lot of big FANG earnings and FOMC meeting. It was pretty clear to me that the FOMC meeting this time around wasn't really going to do anything to the market. It wasn't anything noteworthy. We were near all-time highs, so going up didn't really make sense rallying from this meeting. But the risk of dumping didn't make sense either, because there shouldn't have been any surprises from the Fed, especially compared to the last meeting where they didn't say, Jay Powell didn't say much, but he kind of did what he needed to do. Whereas this time was just kind of like, we'll wait and see. As for FANG earnings, big tech ran up a lot in the past few weeks. There were some exceptions like Google or CMG, even though that's not technically FANG, and some other ones. But we rallied into earnings and we sold off mostly on good earnings. So that's a common thing. So I barely traded the past couple of weeks, partially because I was on vacation 2 weeks prior, and also because, as some of you probably know, I was focused on Sava. So that was just kind of what I did. I like to trade what I know, and that's pretty much what I focused on with Sava. As for going forward into this week, futures are gapping up pretty nicely. As I mentioned before, I'll say it again. I have no idea what the market will do tomorrow. I have no idea what the market will do next week. I don't have no idea what the market will ever do, except maybe just go up over time. I mean, that's what the markets do. But you shouldn't think that you know what the market's going to do at any particular moment. You shouldn't have that bias. You have made that mistake. Typically, August and September are tough months for the market. They're not easy months. That could mean a lot of volatility, which is good for options traders or traders like us. Or it could mean just kind of choppy, but not as volatile choppy. Or it could do something completely unexpected. This week, we have jobs report on Friday. This is as close as I'll get to a prediction, but again, don't listen to me. I'll probably be wrong. I'm not expecting a huge job number, because everything I see tells me places are still struggling to fill their open jobs. I know a lot of states have I think canceled or got rid of their extra unemployment benefits, so maybe there is some effect to that. But if you look at the last few months in terms of job reports weeks, we're usually set up for 1 or 2 reversals during the week. And what I mean by that is, as an example, if people are trying to scare us and they're worried about a hot job number, like say, as an example, maybe Monday into Tuesday we sell off, and then intraday Thursday we start rallying and short covering, and then the Friday numbers are soft. That is an example of what's happened maybe once or twice this year. The whole inflation, fear mongering of the economy overheating, that kind of thing. Maybe it does the opposite. Maybe we hold up early in the week and then drop into it, or any kind. I'm expecting hopefully some opportunities just straight up playing like SPX or that kind of thing. But who knows? Maybe we don't know it. Maybe we don't do anything. But those are just kind of examples of what setups I'm looking up, not making any predictions, relying on them, or predetermining my trades. I always will try to let the action, the levels, and the news drive things. So that's about it. Not too much. We'll see how things are tomorrow. But now to the main event. So I believe, I'm not sure, depending on if you're logging in from your computer or phone for the Q&A, there's ability to raise your hand, and I'll select someone. It might be like a little, if there's like 3 dots that say more, and it might be there where you can raise your hand, or I'm not exactly sure depending on what platform or what, phone or whatever. But if you start raising your hands, I will start unmuting one of you at a time, and then we can chat. And that's the whole point of this. Just start off, I don't know, tell me your name, I guess, or anything else you want to introduce yourself, but a first name would be good. So yeah, we can get started. I don't see anyone raising their hand that I know of right now. If you can't figure it out, type something or let me know, or don't see anyone's. Or even just type into the message box, and I can just tell you, I can unmute you. So any way you want to let me know. I have a question. Reed. Okay. Reed, let me find you. I just asked you to unmute.
Hey,
So
can
you
you hear
should.
me?
Yes, Reed. Hello. There we go. Okay. At least we got one to work. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the three dots on here as an option, but that could be a setting in the background. So anyways, Kevin, thanks for doing this. My name's Reed. I met you met you via, this type of, Twitter via the Smarter Trader group chat. So one of the trades that I follow that you post about is when you trade SPX intra-week. Sometimes, it's in the first 2 or 3 hours of the day. So could you just talk through how you trade SPX because it can move so quickly, and kind of if you choose like a same day expiration, next day, or maybe end of week? Thanks.
Yeah. So for me, I've traded SPX a lot. I've made a lot, lost a lot. It's definitely something that I try not to overtrade because it's an easy one to overtrade. I typically like the same day ones, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They're the best. You have the best opportunity because you have closer to the expiration. I've started to slowly get more into Tuesday, Thursdays, just because sometimes the market or the indexes move more because I guess it's not expiration day, and there's still opportunities to get like 3 or 4x on a decent move and that kind of thing. As for more specifics, it just depends. I usually track at certain levels in the futures or I'm looking for basically two things. Certain levels, and when I see the levels, the action has to match the level. So if we're approaching, say, market's going up, we're approaching a resistance level. You can't just say, "Oh, we hit a resistance. Okay, time to buy puts." No. I've tried to do that. But you have to have the right action. Do we break through resistance, kind of test resistance, make a higher low, and then take off? Well, then that's not a situation to buy puts. But you look at premiums. I do look at, I guess, charts and actions a little bit, but I also look at premiums. But like for instance, we're gapping up tomorrow, so I'm probably not looking at calls off the open. I would be thinking about opportunities for puts, but that doesn't mean I would get puts. But so if you have a follow up to that, or if I haven't addressed it specifically, let me know. Go ahead. Uh-oh. Still there, Reed? Oh, okay. Cool. Oh, you're on mute again? Oh, okay. Okay. Barrett has a question here. Let's see. Okay. I think I'll just read the question. How are you calculating levels? Do you have an algo like Sam or pivots, etc.? Any tips would be appreciated. Second question is, I've always suspected you overtrade. I wonder how you know when to go heavy or do you use the same side? Okay, two good questions. First one about calculating levels. Part of that I do on my own, and part of it is I have some folks I follow that are way better at trend lines and different volumes things. I'm part of what I do, and I do this a lot is we're a community online, and I don't do all the work myself. I'm not at that level, and I know that. So, but if I find certain levels, and other folks online find certain levels, one guy I follow is what's his name? I think his name is Adam Mancini on Twitter, and there's a few other folks, and I can post that later. We have the same levels. But yeah, I mean, so just if you look at, I do look at charts for this kind of thing, support resistance levels, different trend lines and different things. I don't rely too much on that. But I look at big numbers. I don't I see people post like support and resistance for SPX, and they're like every 5 or 10 points. I'm like, okay, that doesn't really help me if you tell me 4308, 4313, 4320, that doesn't help me. But I look at big numbers, and let me just pull up what my big numbers are right now as an example. I've written them down. I don't want to tell the wrong numbers up. I think 4370 is a huge area on ES. We've tested that I think a couple times. That's like our big support. That should hold, or if we don't, then we're going through something like an actual big pullback. And obviously, we're in a range right now. If you look at the past week or so, we're in a 4370 to all-time high 43, whatever that is, 4320. We're in a range. So I mostly, and then maybe I'll have like another number in between that range, but I'm not, since that range is 4370, that's about a 50-point range. I'm not going to have numbers 5, 10, every 5 or 10. It's going to be, probably one number at the top and bottom, support resistance, and maybe like a number in the middle, a level in the middle that, could be something to look at. But that's kind of how I approach things. I don't have I'm not like Sam. I'm not at that level. And I'll tell you when I don't know things, or I'm not, that, competent. So, but that's how I look at things. In terms of over trading and sizing, well, it just depends on your conviction in what you're doing. Like for instance, Sava, like I've noticed Sava since 2019. I actually lost a lot of money when it first had that data recalculation issue. And it's funny, when I first started trading and stuff, one of the first things I started trading was biotech run-ups and biotech sell-offs on news. So that's been something I've done on and off for the past 10 years. And a lot of these things is these kind of things, when they have data and like known data events with defined dates and stuff, they'll run up, and most of the time they'll sell off. I thought Sava maybe had the potential to be a little bit different because Alzheimer's is a tough one. So if they really did have good news, maybe it would explode. But that gift, we look at Sava, it, as an example, it exploded, I don't remember, in February, I believe, when it had that initial good data. It came down and it's been rallying for what, a few months? Yeah, a few months. And then we had that gift. If you remember when that OPEX Friday into Monday, when the market just tanked for like a 36-hour, whatever period, and Sava tanked to 72, it opened like pretty much at the lows, I think on Monday, and it just literally, it rallied like 10 points in like, I don't know, an hour or something. And I was only going to buy a 10K position, but I just kept buying. I'm like, okay, it's clearly like, it's clearly they're buying back into it. And, my thought was it was going to at least test, somewhere in the hundreds all-time high. It actually broke way above it. So I just kept buying and rolling. And then that's the key. Like I had the conviction and the experience in terms of a biotech run-up situation. And, Alzheimer's is so hard. There's no drug that really treats it or cures it or anything successfully to any, huge effect. So, and Sava's been getting a lot of attention in the news. And that goes back to what, other folks do too. News events are the easiest. Someone comes out with news that will clearly affect their earnings, or, they add users, they add something that's unexpected in the middle of the market day. That's great. I still remember on my birthday, I don't remember what year it was, but it was on my birthday. The first time, I think it was mid-decade, when Netflix announced a price increase. But yeah, that was like 100K a day, because it was like at 2:30 in the afternoon on like a Wednesday. And, I just kept adding. And another one, Sam has beast numbers and that kind of thing. If like a Tesla or something gaps through a beast number at the open, that kind of thing, that's a good conviction. But it just really depends on how confident you are. And by confident, I don't mean, oh my goodness, this is going to go 10 times. I'm looking at how confident are you that it's going to run, that's going to work. It could be 2 times, it could be 5 times. Hey, if it does 2 times in 5 minutes, that works. I mean, it just depends on your confidence level. And no, I don't do the same size every trade. My standard base level trade is about 5K. 10K, I usually do 10K if it has news, like a news-based trade. And I'll do bigger sizes. Like my Sava trade was 50K, but that's because I just kept buying, and there was an event. It wasn't going to sell off before the event. That was kind of an outlier. But no, my trade sizes can be as low as 1K if I've only made 10K that week and I just want to put something into this lotto, then it'll only be 1K. But I usually don't size, so it depends. It depends on your goals, your risks, your profits, all that kind of thing. Joshua, I just saw your message. Adam Mancini is great. Yep, good. But yeah, I don't follow that many people on Twitter. I slowly started increasing, but I can't deal with information overload. I want to find curated people I trust. People, whenever I follow someone, I look at their last like month of Twitter posts to see if they sound like they make sense and know what they're talking about, and two, like if someone's posting all kinds of crap and it's just clearly a lot of noise, then that's not what I want. I want people that I feel like are better than me, or they have a specialty, whether it's SPX or ES levels, or someone who knows a lot about a certain stock or a certain sector, like that kind of thing. So yeah, that's that. Anyone else? I don't see anyone raising their hands. There should be an option. I don't know if you're on your computer in the Zoom window, there's a more button, dot, dot, dot. I'm on a host view, so I'm not sure. If you're on a phone, there's usually like 3 dots or something. I know I had some people, you don't have the dots. I'm sorry about that. I will test that out again after this to see what's going on. Let me try something. Okay. Bear with me a second. I apologize. First time doing this, so definitely going to be some technical difficulties. Lower all hands. I don't see anything. I think that's on the paid version of Zoom. Interesting. Okay. Okay. Well, what I'm going to do is click on. Oh, someone just said click on option to raise. Okay. Well, John through Emily's computer. Apparently, you can click on participants option to raise hand there. Again, apologies. Bear with me. I had my girlfriend test it with me earlier, and she doesn't have a paid account. She had the dots on Android on her phone. But feel free to type something in as well in the chat room, and I can just unmute you, or just type a question in the chat room. We'll kind of figure out. I'll definitely test it out and figure that out later. See if we can make it a little easier, or maybe I'll switch to a different platform. Reed just said, click participants, it's bottom right. Okay, so maybe it's not the dot, dot, dots. Close chat. Oh, aha, people are raising their hands. Gotcha. Reed has raised his hand. John, okay, people are raising their hands. Let's do it. Okay. Okay, hand raising. Let's go. Okay. I just gave I'm not sure what your name is, but I just asked you to unmute. Thank you all for your help there. I think can you hear me, or I think you might have to tap something. Don't hear anything yet, Yeah, you have to unmute yourself. It'll give you the option to. Yeah, I can't just unmute you. You still have to do it on your end, your microphone, I believe. Okay, I'm gonna move on to John / through Emily, since we'll get back to you, if or type a message if you have a question about how to figure it out. Folks can help. But John, is that John? I heard something.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. Yes, I can.
Oh, cool. Hey, yeah, I've been in the chat a couple years. Had the pleasure of talking to Kevin I reached out to him about a month ago, and he spent almost an hour on the phone with me, which was amazing. So Kevin, thank you again for that.
Sure. That's why I'm doing this, so we can instead of answering just your question and only you hearing it, I'm sure 5, 10 other people can benefit from it.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things we talked about was, kind of like chasing things where, maybe something was on your radar, boom, maybe somebody in the room got in your attention. Maybe it's a SAM call out and, you're scrambling to get a fill or whatever. And maybe you're kind of chasing, and that's one of the things that I've struggled with.
Mhm.
Can you kind of walk through your thought process?
Absolutely.
There's certain times where it's not like, news just came out, but maybe a stock is really moving, some volume came in and whatever. And you feel like a smidge late, kind of what's your, process, how you look at something like that and how you would maybe enter, or you just kind of pass because maybe you feel like you're late.
Yeah, you've kind of brought up two different scenarios, and I'll kind of address both of them. The first one is I'm putting air quotes, news event where, someone in Sam's room or someone, if you're following people on Twitter, like they post a news, and it is a news event, but it may, as an example, what will typically happen for me is I only really follow about 20, the big movers, anywhere from Tesla to Shopify or Amazon, if it's, obviously the big fangs. But like, for instance, I've done this many times where like, I don't follow the stock. I know the stock. I know it exists. I know what the company does, but I don't trade it ever. It's not on my screen. I don't know anything about it. Like, I think an example, what this happened to me where DraftKings, I sports bet and all that stuff, but I don't follow the stock. I don't trade it. And it was like a month ago. It had some kind of news, probably like an MLB deal or some deal or deal. It sounded like news, but I got into it. And what will happen is when the news drops intraday, the stock will immediately have a volume spike in like 1 to 2 minutes. And there is no way by the time someone posts about it and it gets to me, that volume spike will have already happened. And it's one of those things where if you don't know the company, the business, and how it trades, you're probably late. And that volume spike will come right back down and you're buying the top. I've done it many times. So in that instance, like how I filter through those kind of news, it has news, but like, okay, it had a deal extension. Does that mean it's going to get, did people expect that? Did people not expect that? I mean, like, it could be newsworthy, it may not be. And I don't trade it ever. So for me, that's I should not touch that because I'm buying the top and it's probably going to go down as soon as I buy it. But in another scenario, like one that came out a few weeks ago, TTD, and Google, it was like literally 2 minutes before the market opened. There was news that Google was delaying. They were changing how they were doing cookies or something relating to TTD. That's been a thing that's been going on for the past maybe 6 months here. And the news came out that they think they were delaying it a year. And that was a huge part of what was affecting TTD. And TTD just shot up. It went up like, I think it opened at like 66 post split, 66. And I think it closed at or hit like mid to high 70s. But that one, it happened literally 2 minutes before the market opened. So that was great timing because it didn't really gap up or anything. And that one, I follow Google. I follow TTD. I don't trade TTD or follow it too much, but I keep an eye on it way more than I ever would DraftKings. So I knew that it had gone down. This was maybe a few months ago on the cookie news. So I knew it was going to go back up. And then it happened to be post split too. So that was something where I follow it a little more and it gives me, and I understand the news a bit better. Sure, the DraftKings, MLB, sure, that may be good news, but I didn't really know what the stock was going to do. So I think it's like your comfort level, your experience, like trade what you know. If you don't really know, then don't trade it. The other scenario you kind of bought where it wasn't just a news scenario, just kind of like if stock's moving. So
Kevin, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the prime example for me was that Friday, Thursday night, Snap came out with earnings, and then everybody was all over Facebook or Roku, and the killer for me was the market wasn't open in 45 seconds, and I missed trying to buy Roku, and it
Mhm.
literally just put me in a, like a psychological tailspin, just
Yep.
missing that fill, and then it just rips.
Yep.
And so when you're trying to buy something at two, and the next fill's 250, and the next fill's three, and all of a sudden it's 5, 6, and you're trying to chase, you're like, oh man. And I know it's a tough example because Roku, everybody laughs about the market makers whose kids drive Ferraris. Roku's right with them because he he'll have a spread, a dollar to $1.40, and it's like it's a dollar, you know.
Well, here's the thing. Something
And so
like
that was my problem chasing Roku,
Mhm.
and it just kept going and going and going. And once you miss the big rip from 2 to 7, you're
Yeah.
like, okay, so you're looking at the next strike or the two strikes higher. And again, I know it's a bad example, but I mean, I guess it's
Yeah.
more the psychological. You miss, how do you kind of handle that and kind
Sure.
of get your mojo going?
No, it's actually a great example. It's a really good example. A few things that we can touch on here. I don't know what you were exactly trying to do. Like, if you like based off the Snap news and like a news thing where you're confident that it's gonna rip, and with Roku, we're not talking it's gonna rip 5 points. It's gonna rip 10, 20, many, many, tens of points. Then you like what I do in that scenario. I don't know what strike you're looking, what the bid ask, but say if the bid ask is 1.5 to 2 or whatever it may be, I'm entering if I want to get in, I'm entering it at 2.5. Or depending on what if it's if it's like an Amazon, it's 10-point premium. I'm entering it at 11 or 12. I'm not if I want to get in, and the same thing is if I want to get out. Like when my Sava tanked after the news, like I saw the premium drop and I had it ready. Like I almost never, if I'm trying to get into like leaps or something long term and I'm slowly building a position, sure, like you know that's different. But if it's you're getting in and it's taking off, you either have to get in at whatever price you can get in that first minute, or don't. Like, so I don't know if in terms of if you are trying to be a little too precise in that scenario in terms of trying to get in. That's my first thing. Now my second thing is if it did take off, you didn't get in, there will always be more opportunities, that without a doubt. I think the longest I've ever had in the time where I was like, man, there's nothing good that fit my strategy was maybe 2 weeks. And that's like the extreme. Very rarely, like will there be even 1 week where it goes by where there's like, oh man, there was nothing for me that fit my strategy. So there will always be more opportunities. If you miss it, then you miss it. Or for something like a Roku or something, there'll be a dip. Get in on the dip. Like a lot of these, like don't like that at least you're getting in a little cheaper. If there's there's always going to be a dip. Sometimes there isn't, maybe in the first hour if it's just really taking off, it's not really a meaningful dip, but then you miss it because you don't want to get into the cycle of crap, I am chasing and then it dips. You're like, oh crap, it's going up more, and then it dips, and then you get scared out, or that kind of thing. Like it depends on your sizing and all different kinds of things. But I've definitely been in scenarios where it's like, oh crap, I bought it right when I thought it was gonna break out more. It dipped. I got scared because I bought too much. I sold. Oh, and then it goes up. It's like, this goes with SPX as well, and other things like buying. What's it called? Like buying calls at resistance and buying puts at support. Not a good idea. Not a good idea. So does that address a lot of what you were kind of getting at?
Yeah, no, I mean a little bit of, I just I didn't have enough. I had 2 option chains open on Roku, and I tried them both. And when you miss the first one and then it flies, yeah, and it's on me not to recognize the dip and the reentry, because by then you see it go and you're like, okay, well I probably missed that opportunity. And at 9:50 you don't know that Roku's going to go up $35 on a Friday, so I mean it's
Yeah.
but anyway.
No, yeah, no, that's definitely true. Yeah, it's really hard to I still still fall into these traps for sure. But yeah, if you miss it, you miss. Like I think I mentioned earlier, like the last 2 weeks, pretty much all I traded was Saba. I know I dabbled in some SPX and did some other things, but really I missed a lot. I was on vacation when what was it, Google and CMG and all. I was checking stuff pre-market, and I was like, oh man, Google's gonna run. Oh man, see, but I'm like, I'm on vacation. I'm not like, yeah, there was money to be made, but like that means I'm stuck on my phone or whatever for an hour or two, probably actually the whole day if they want. Like I'm doing like I kind of knew when I timed my vacation during earnings month that it was going to be missed opportunities, but I was okay with that. The only thing I checked was Sava because I had a big position and that was something I can just look at and sell, look at it. So it wasn't that time consuming, but like I missed a lot. That end of that week with Google and CMG and some other stuff. So if you miss it, you miss it. That there will always be opportunities. The market, especially, I mean, I started trading I think around 2012 or so. So I haven't traded anything pre that, but the last decade or so has been pretty interesting and a lot of volatility and different opportunities. So yeah, I think I mentioned earlier, don't compound one mistake with another mistake. So that's in there like a Roku. If you miss it, you miss it. You're at zero. You're not making money, but you're not losing money. And one thing I found is, whoa, sorry, my cat is going crazy. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so I would say 90 to 95% of my profits are in like not 90 to 95% of my trades. They're probably in it's probably like 90% profits in like 5 or 10% of my trades. My problem over the years, and I'm sure a lot of you struggle, is you get big winners from time to time and you give it all back because you want to keep making big winners. But I made 200K through Sava in the past 2 weeks. My personal goal is 20 to 50K a month, average 50K a month. Some months maybe 6 figures. Although I've had months where I've only made 20, 30,000. But hey, that's still more than my monthly expenses. If you like, every person's situation is different, of course. Some folks probably are doing it for day-to-day, month-to-month income. Other folks are, building retirements or whatever it may be. But I'll just wrap it up and I'm going to move on to someone else just because I'm taking up time. But I'll just say, yeah, it's if going through a day where you don't make anything, that's not the worst result. Now, if there genuinely was missed opportunities, then yeah, look back, analyze it. And so next time a similar opportunity, you're ready for it. That's all you can do. But that's better than missing out, chasing, buying at the top, buying at resistance. And then you're in oh crap, I suck. And I'm not saying you suck. I'm just saying for me, I suck. I don't blame anyone else. I blame myself. I suck. So I'm gonna leave it there for now. Let's see who else. Anyone? I think we had. Let's see. Hand raising. I'm gonna try to ask you to unmute again from earlier. I don't think I see you typing a message. Hopefully you can hear me. Feel free to, I'm gonna check my Twitter in case no one's messaged me. And feel free to message me on Twitter or something, if you're having issues. Sorry about that if we're missing out, but it's first time. We'll try to iron out some of these things next time. Barrett, I do see some of your questions. I'm just gonna give other folks an opportunity first. Type it in the chat box or raise your hand. I'm just gonna make sure I didn't miss anyone. Going once, going twice, or I'm going to go to some of Barrett's questions. Okay. I have tough time getting fills on the 9 to 9:30, 9:31 options. Do you have a bunch of prefigs going into the trading day? Well, it depends. It depends. Like the example I gave with TTD, where the news was 2 minutes in, you got to open up and get your, get the strikes you're thinking of and have orders ready to go for sure, because you had 2 minutes warning. If in a specific example, since I know a lot of us are in Sam's room, and if some of you have no idea what I'm talking about, my apologies. Some of us are in a trading room, so if Sam, a lot of times Sam will say what he's looking at on his call or his pre-call, or even in the morning notes what he's looking at. So you should have some of those things open if you're interested. You might not know exactly what striker. A lot of times he will tell you exactly. So you should have all that ready. If it's something that completely out of the blue, I mean, you might have to react to it. But yeah, it's tough sometimes. It's tough. Like for instance, this week Zoom and Tesla, I forget which days, but they ran from the open, I think Thursday or Friday or Wednesday. And I was focused on Saba, at least on Thursday, so I missed some of those, and that's fine. I was managing a 80, 90K position, so that's fine with me. But it's tough sometimes. You do miss it. And again, it's up to your conviction level and your account. Like if it starts running, you might have to overpay a little bit. And it depends. I think in the Tesla, let me just check because I didn't trade those. If you're in a gap up scenario, that's a little different because sometimes it'll drop to pre-market support before it goes back up. But I believe with Tesla, let me just check. Yeah, with Tesla on I think it was Thursday. I mean, it didn't really gap up. I mean, it opened up maybe what 3 points up. I wouldn't really count that a gap up, and then it ran. And I think the same thing with Zoom on what was it Thursday as well. Okay, Zoom gapped up a little bit. Zoom gapped up, less than 10 points, which again isn't a huge good, but it did gap. But see, with Zoom, it gapped up over the recent resistance. I don't know if Sam had a beast number or not. He probably did. Yeah, it gapped up over resistance this past week, and it gapped through. So that's a pretty high conviction setup. And if you really believe that's high conviction, then you got to get your strikes ready, and you might have to overpay. I mean, Sam talks about this all the time. If Zoom, whatever strike you're looking at, opens at 2 to 2.5, don't enter your order in at 2.3 or even 2.5. Oh, it might be 2.73 by the time especially if you're getting an alert from Sam, it might be $1 higher, or potentially if it doesn't run, sometimes, as Sam says, it goes lower within the next hour or something. So you might just have to wait. If you miss it, you miss it. You might have to wait. Just because it goes lower doesn't mean you have to buy it. It may be going lower because it sucks or it hit a number and it's dropping 10. But yeah, I mean it's tough. No, trust me, I am not getting Sam's fills a lot of times. Most of the time, I'm getting better fills than him. It's because I bought it before he did. But I'm not getting, and that's the thing. Like you don't want to overtrade. You want to have your highest quality, because if you're overpaying or getting a little late by 0.5 or 1, and it's gonna move 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, then who cares about that extra 25 cents? You only care about that extra 25, 50 cents if you didn't get in the right opportunity and you bought too much or you doing too many trades and they're all going against you because it wasn't actually a good setup, So that's kind of my answer to that. I see you have a second question, but again, anyone hand raising? Anyone else want to? I'm hoping other people can hear me. I mean, right now it's like I feel like I'm talking to 3 people, which is fine. But don't be shy. Don't be shy. If at least a couple folks can type in that you can hear me and you can hear us, and if you're having issues or not, just let me know. Someone did a thumbs up. Okay, I see a thumbs up from you. I'm gonna try to ask you to unmute again. Okay, good. Thank you, Dershel. Just wanted to check since I know some people had some technical issues. I'm giving you an opportunity to unmute again because you raised your hand earlier. But thank you, Dershel, for that. Okay. Don't see any. Don't hear anything from MM. You have to unmute your mic, but I'll go to Barrett's next question. Now the earnings season is coming to a close. Time to load up cash and see where the volatility takes us? That's a question. So, it depends. It depends. I mean, I know some of you know high yield. He's been on this vaccine, Moderna, BNTX. I mean, those things are going to keep going, I think. I haven't traded them. I think I'm not saying it's going to be over or late, but I do feel like we're not in the early innings of that. The short-term trade, we're probably in the mid to late innings. So I'm not making any predictions. All I'm saying is I feel like I missed out on a lot, and maybe it'll still go up, but I'm monitoring that. Maybe there's an opportunity at the open, but it's probably going to gap up and it's going to be hard. It's going to be expensive. In terms of in general, if we're just talking trading, like short-term options, cash, I am in a wait and see kind of mode. If you're talking your stocks or longer term positions, I mean that's a completely different scenario. Depending on the individual company, how they're doing. Are they nearing resistance support? Are there, you know, a lot of more mid and small cap earnings come up in August, you know, that kind of thing. But I'm not, no, August to September are tough. That doesn't mean there won't be huge opportunities. You know, last August and September, granted, I think that was kind of an anomaly. We had a huge run in August and a huge jump in September. Basically, you know, the whole Tesla split, Apple split, everything ran, and then the dump into pre-election. So that was fun. So that doesn't mean that there won't be opportunities, but you know, we're kind of in a more chill market. I think the COVID market, that first year after COVID, that was a crazy market. But I think we're kind of getting into a more chill, harder, more difficult market, you know, pre-COVID, maybe even pre-Trump, because Trump market was pretty good market to trade. But I think it will get a little harder. But again, that doesn't mean there won't be opportunities. Hope that answers your question, Barrett. Any other questions? Any other hand raising, please? No, I'm happy to wrap up, you know, and yeah, shy group tonight. Yeah, exactly. No, I'm not pressuring anyone, like not pressuring anyone at all. I hope some of these questions and answers that we've talked about have been helpful. But you know, feel free to message me after any kind of follow up. Oh, John, do you still have, see you in the AM? This was great. Okay, great. John, do you still have another question? I see your hand still raised. Oh, here we go. Joe, what do you do to prep for the upcoming week? Oh, that's a good question. I meant to bring this up. I was hoping someone asked this question actually, but I didn't want to bring it up in my early spiel. I'll just kind of take you through my day and my week. So let's just start my mornings, okay? Now I listen to Sam's call, I go walk the dog, and I spend about 30 minutes kind of setting myself up. I look at some, you know, I look at CNBC, I look at some places to get some just general news, what's the market. And then I make sure, you know, I check Twitter, I check other places, see if there are any companies that have news based events. And then what I'll do is I have my own checklist of reminders, like don't overtrade, you know, think about what kind of market are we in? Are we in a bad market, good market? You know, I basically have these notes and questions to remind me, you know. I remind myself and make sure to look at where my ES SPX levels are, because that's important. And then, yeah, if there's something that has news or good stuff, you know, definitely have those strikes open. I look at the economic data. That's what events, you know, FOMC, jobs reports, you know, different things, you know, what is it, CPI, ISM. Not all of those matter. Not all of those affect things necessarily, but it's good to know what time those things are. What month are we in? Are we in an earnings month? I check, you know, the stocks I follow. Is anything gapping up? Anything setting up? And then, yeah, I just set up my windows and everything to trade. And then, you know, I do the trading, obviously. And then at the end of every day, I do a recap. The 4 things I really recap. I check, you know, the things maybe I didn't pay attention to much, or even the things I did see what moved this week, what moved today, what didn't move, what news came out during the market to remind myself. I recap my own trades, like I recap what trades I did do. Were they good? Were they bad? Why? And I recap what trades I maybe missed out on. And they fit into 2 categories. There are, okay, this I should have been in. Next, I need to remember this for next time. Or this, you know, Sam made an alert or someone else, whatever, post, but it's not for me. It was not for me. So it's fine that I missed out because that's because like as an example, I know Sam trades LRCX. I suck at LRCX. I feel like every time I buy it, it doesn't run, or it takes forever to run. And every time I don't buy it, it runs. So I follow it because it's good for semis to look at and different things, but I don't really trade that. I just suck at it. There are plenty of opportunities that, hey, I suck at trading LRCX. So so if LRCX moved that week, I'll be like, oh, that's cool. I'll try to look into see why it moved and where it's at. But I was like, okay, I missed out. It's fine. I you know, that kind of thing. And then I do a weekly recap at the oh yeah, obviously I track how much money I made or lost on any given day and see like, okay, you know, how many profit, what's my profit level that week, and you know what number am I willing to lose to go to zero or to put on lottos or whatever? And that usually for me is about 10 to 20% of my profits. Sam has a 60-40 rule, 60% keep, 40% profits to positions. To me, that's a little high for me. I don't like losing profits. If I make 10K, I don't want to lose 4K. If I make 100K, I don't really want to lose 40K back. So for me, it's closer to 10 or 20% usually, sometimes even less if there's not even opportunity. And yeah, I do a weekly recap where kind of do the same thing, look at what happened throughout the week, what I missed, what I didn't do, or what I did do, what was good, what was bad. And then and at the end of the week, I move money out of my account. I don't move my money out on any given day because sometimes I made 3K. Okay, well, oh, and I have a 50K trading account. And what that means is to start the week, I move money out on the weekend to other accounts. I have 50K in my account because, like I mentioned earlier, my trade size is about 5 to 10K on average, or a base trade that has not huge conviction, not huge news, that kind of thing. So in theory, I should be fine with that 50K. The only reason I should need more money is if I made a lot of money, like multiple trades, multiple big winners, I need more money because I used a lot of that money and it was a good trade. I think that's a good size for me because if I messed up and I'm down 5, 10, 20K and it was bad, then I should hit the, what do you call it, like an emergency stop button. I shouldn't be. So obviously, like when I did my 50K position in Sava and it was going up, it was doing great. Obviously, I added more money so I could do other stuff, even though I didn't really do anything else. But that's kind of how I approach the week. Yeah, I take money out at the end of the week, not at the end of the day. I guess if I made a huge like 300K or huge, maybe I would. But if I'm up 10K on a trade or 20K, I'll wait until the end of the week just because I like to have that number. It's like, oh, I'm up 30K. Okay, I'm willing to lose 5K to zero. Versus if I take money out every day, then I start with 50K. I'm kind of like, oh, okay, wait, how much? If I see that I have 80K and I started the week with 50K, then it's easy for me to see, okay, I have 80K in cash. That means I have 30K in profits versus me trying to remember what the number is because I'm doing all kinds of things. So I hope that answers your question, Joe. If you have a follow-up to that, your question was a little general, so I hope I didn't miss something, or if you have a more specific thing you'd like to ask. Don't see any other questions. You said a max. Oh, Dershel. Yeah, great. Do you set a max amount of open positions yourself? I try not to be in more than 4. Oh, that's a great question. 4 or 5. That's a great question. So when I first started out, there were times when I had 4 or 5, maybe more positions. And for me, I don't have a max hard number. And Joshua just said it's hard for him to keep track past 5. No, that's great. No, that's good. You should know that for yourself. For me, I don't have a hard number, but it's probably less than 4 or 5. Honestly, like it's probably 2 on average, maybe 3. If it's 3, it's because it's an easy week, market's in your favor, or I'm just killing it. Honestly, it's like 1, 2, maybe 3. It really isn't a lot. Not just because if you're looking, I can't look at 5 things at a time and manage all that, and that kind of thing. But usually it's like, again, quality over quantity. It really is. Like I mentioned earlier, I made 200K from Saba. It was one position. 200K is close to my best trade ever was 300K last year during COVID, when the SPX was going up and crazy SPX drops and stuff. So 200K is huge. So if I have a 50K position in Saba that grew to 100K, that grew to 200K, and I sold it half of it, I still had a 100K position. Why am I, why would I watch anything else? And again, that number may not apply to you. Your number may be 10K, 5K, 1K, 100, doesn't matter. If you have, and so why would I be why would I play anything else? But yeah, it depends. Again, we talked about some examples, Roku, TT. If there's a news-based event and you're in and it's going, what just focus on that. I think quality over quantity. Why? I'm not saying I'm ignoring everything else. I'm not saying I have tunnel vision, but that's my main focus. I love the morning trades where it's an hour, or even less than that, 5 minutes, an hour. The first hour, you kill something and then you're set. You don't have to do anything the rest of the day. So for me, ideally one. Why have two or three or four? If you can do it, like Sam, if you can have 4 or 5 positions and you're killing it, nothing wrong with that. But I suspect that for most people, that's not the case. So I hope that answers your question, Joshua. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you know that 4 or 5 is your max, then that's great. That's good to know. But yeah, my number is probably lower than that because I know my limitations, I know my abilities, and I'm trying to think of a day where there was 4. If I had 4 or 5 killer trades in the day, they weren't at the same time. They were throughout the day, but 4, it's been a long time. Yeah, I used to probably have closer to 4, 5, 6, and that was hard. Oh yeah. Oh my God, I feel so lucky. I don't know how, like, it opened at 140, 145, and then it just dropped in it held for 2 minutes and then it tanked. I was watching that premium. And that's where Sam and the whole premium thing. I was not watching a chart. I was watching the premium because it opened at 10 to 11. And I was in at like, I don't know, 3 or 4 or whatever. It opened at 10 to 11. I'm like, okay. I'm like, it was odd for me because I'm like, the news was already out or leaked or, it was on the Alzheimer website, but it wasn't really, it was up after being down premium, but it didn't go up, a lot. And I was very suspicious of that open. And then 2 minutes in, they dropped the bid by 1 immediately. And I was like, and I was ready. I already had, like, it was 10 to 11. I had the 9 ready. I was all ready. And then as soon as I saw it drop, I pressed 1 button, done, fired, 100 contracts, immediate fill. And then literally in 5 minutes, it dropped 25 points. That premium told everything. Like, it was 10 to 11. It didn't move for 2 minutes. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then it just, as soon as that drop happened, like, the premium tells all. And I was just like, wow. And I didn't trade it after. I know it went up and down, and obviously went really down, but if it had weeklies, I definitely would have looked into puts, but it had monthlies. And I made a huge amount going the upside. I'm not the best at trading up and down. I can do that sometimes with SPX and stuff, but like, yeah, you could have made money on the downside too. But I was good. I made my 200K. I wasn't really trying to force it. Yeah, I could have, made money on the puts, but it wasn't like a huge. It was a nice winner, but it wasn't like a 10x because it was monthlies. So, yeah. Any other questions? We can definitely wrap up. We're up at the hour mark. I think we've covered a lot. I'll hang out for another minute or two, see if there's any messages. Feel free to type a message or raise your hand. I don't see anything currently. But thank you all for coming and listening. I hope this was helpful. I really do. Any feedback, let me know. Suggestions, all that. But yeah, we'll do this again. Oh, Joshua, is this going to be a weekly thing? We'll see. I don't know. Part of it just depends on my schedule. If I'm on vacation, then no, probably not. But this is the first one. I know a lot of people said they could do this time. A lot of people said they couldn't. So, I don't think I'm too busy this week. We might do something in the middle of the week. I'll let you know. But I don't know. Definitely a few times a month, maybe weekly. I'm not going to promise weekly or that kind of thing, but a few times a month. And maybe if we keep growing and there's a good group, then maybe we'll set times, or at least I'll try to notify you guys a few days ahead or something. We'll see how this thing grows. But I'm glad that we got like 5 to 10 people. That's about how much I was hoping for. But yeah, this will be often, hopefully. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad to hear. Okay, well, I don't see anything else, so I think we will end the call, and I'll post it out for the people that missed it. Thank you all, and good luck tomorrow morning. And remember, be patient, don't force things, don't have to buy the open. We're gapping up, so I think well, I haven't checked what the futures have done in the last hour, but I think if we open here, I think we're gapping up at all-time highs. So I'm not going to predict anything, but that tells you something. We're gapping up to all-time highs, so we'll see what that means. Doesn't mean I'm buying puts, but but we'll see. We'll see what the market does. So have a good trading week. Don't force things, and we'll see where we are later this week. Good night, all. Thank you.